Hi everyone, it's Laurel Beard here, and I'm so thrilled today to be here with you in this video. I am Winnie and Walter's December leading lady, and I'm so thrilled to be here with you all. This is week number 2, and today I'm going to show you a couple of projects using some Winnie and Walter projects as well as some watercoloring. So to start with, I'm using this poinsettia from the Happy Christmas stamp set by Winnie and Walter. I love this stamp set, not just because of the name, because like I said in my post, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan and they say Happy Christmas in the movie. So it's got a great title, but it's got a ton of fun images and a ton of sentiments that you can mix and match and make your own custom sentiments, and I'm in love with the fonts. So for this one, I'm going to focus in on the poinsettia, and then I'll use one of the sentiments from the stamp set as well. And I'm going to mask it so I can stamp the poinsettia twice. So I've gone ahead off camera and cut that poinsettia, or I stamped it on some masking paper, some Inka Dinka Do masking paper, and cut it out. If you don't have that masking paper, you can use a Post-it note or anything like that to create your mask. You just want to make sure that it's a very thin piece of paper. You don't want to create a mask with cardstock because it's hard to mask that way because of the thickness of the paper. So I've gone ahead and stamped those out, and then I've stamped them with some Onyx Black ink because it's a pigment ink. It's my absolute favorite pigment ink, and black, and because it's a pigment ink, it stays wet longer, so I'm able to do some real quick heat embossing. So I've gone ahead and sprinkled some clear embossing powder onto the poinsettias there, and I'm going to go ahead and heat set it after I fight with my spoon. I'm going to go ahead and heat set it. Now, I like to heat emboss anytime I do watercoloring for 2 reasons. One, it keeps the images crisp and black. Sometimes when you watercolor over some stamped images, your black can fade a little bit, so this will prevent that. And 2, when it's heat embossed, it almost acts as a little barrier there, and it keeps your watercolor from staying inside. I'm going to be using some Peerless watercolors. I don't use these too often, but I thought I would go ahead and use them today. And I'm working off of a Tim Holtz craft sheet, so I've gone ahead and spritzed some water onto my craft sheet, and I'm just wetting the poinsettia, and then I'm going to pick up the color and add the color to the poinsettias. I'm going to play some music here because I really don't have any words of wisdom to share with you with watercoloring. I just kind of play around until I like the look. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of music until I'm done watercoloring these poinsettias. All right, now I'm going to go in with the Perfect Pearls mix, which is just water and a Perfect Pearl pigment powder. And what that does, mixed together, and what that does is it gives it a nice shine over the top. So I'm going to go in and basically paint that in over the red. So I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. I'm adding some shine, and at the same time I'm blending out that red just a little bit more until I'm satisfied with how it looks. So I love using Perfect Pearls quite a bit. I'm going to use it in the next card as well. So I've got that all nice and painted, and now it's time to add some blue to that tag. And I think it's going to tie everything together. It really makes those poinsettias pop. So I thought watercoloring in the tag would be pretty as well. So what I'm doing here is using that same Perfect Pearls mix. You can see it's like a creamy white there. And then I'm going in with the blue, and I'm going to combine those 2 products together. I'm going to add a little bit more Perfect Pearls because I want a lighter blue. I don't want it like an in-your-face blue. And then I'm going to carefully go in and watercolor in all of the white. And if you're careful, just make sure not to overlap into your poinsettias because you don't want to muddy up the color you already created there. But if you're careful, you can go around and kind of paint your tag whatever color you want. I've got a little brush there to get into those little tiny detailed areas. And then at the same time, since I'm using that Perfect Pearls mix, it's going to create a really pretty blue sparkly background as well. And like I said, it really makes those poinsettias, I think, pop off the page even more. So I love combining watercolors and Perfect Pearls together. I think it's so much fun. And when you've got good product to work with, you score. So look at that sparkle, look at that shine on the blue and on the poinsettias, and then you're picking up the shine from the heat embossed black from the heat embossing we did of the poinsettia stamps. So I got the back of my tag, dirty with some watercolor. So I've gone ahead and die cut that tag again, and I'm just going to layer it on the back side of that tag. So I want to have a nice clear white space to write my message to and from and whatnot. So this is a great way to kind of hide your mess there. So as you can see, I kept the stitch edges around the on the back of the card. So I just think it's going to be super fun. So now I need to create a tag. So I need a little hole and some ribbon. So that little gadget there, it's called a crocodile. You can do a lot with that. I use it strictly as a hole punch. It seems crazy, but I like it because it cuts through really, really, really thick pieces of cardboard and cardstock. You can just really cut through a lot of product with that crocodile. So that's what I use as a hole punch. Seems kind of crazy, but I do. So now I've got some doodlebug twine. This is Christmas twine. It's hard to see, but it has some sparkly green twine through that red as well. And I'm going to tie a ribbon. Now, if you guys follow me, you know I can't tie ribbons. Me and ribbons, we just hate each other. We don't get along. So I edited out a lot of that because I promise you that probably took me 10 minutes to tie that bow, which is ridiculous. But it did. So I didn't bore you to death with watching. I don't know why. What is wrong with me? Why can't I tie bows? But anyway, I've gone ahead and tied a bow after 10 minutes went by, and I'm just trimming down the tails a little bit. And look at the sparkle. Isn't it pretty? Those poinsettias are gorgeous, and I don't have any poinsettia stamps, believe it or not. This is my first, and this is the only one I want because I think it's so pretty. So now I'm going to take a sentiment from that stamp set. See all the pretty sentiments in the font? Isn't that gorgeous? So I'm going to take the 'Tis the Season because it fit perfectly down there in the left-hand corner of the tag. And I'm going to stamp that with some of that same Onyx Black VersaFine ink. I use this ink for most of my sentiments because it really stamps nice and crisp. It gives you really clean images. But because it's a pigment ink, it does stay wet longer. So beware if you do use this to give yourself a little bit of time for it to dry. Don't go and rub your finger over the sentiment right away or you're going to smear your ink and ruin your project. Ask me how I know. So now I'm pretty much got this tag done. I like the sentiment placement. I love the poinsettias. I love the blue. I'm going to trim the tails down just a little bit more. Apparently I wanted them shorter. And then that's going to be the tag. I think it's so pretty. And by the way, if I didn't mention it, that tag is a die cut from Pretty Pink Posh. I love the stitched edges it leaves around the outline of the tag there. So there's tag number 1. It would be perfect for gift wrapping, on the outside of a gift bag, whatever. I just think it's so pretty. Now this is the next card we're going to be making in the video today, and it has a lot of texture and a lot of technique in it. I'm going to be using the Big, the Bold, and the Merry stamp set, and this is the Triangled Creative Screening, which is their stencils, so it's fantastic. They already have a huge, big, bold line of stamp sets. It's called the Big, the Bold, and the something. Make sure you check that out because this is in addition to the other stamp sets that they already have, and I love it. Now this is again called the Triangled Creative Screening, and I'm putting that down and it's securing that down over some watercolored cardstock. I did try this technique with regular cardstock and you could pull it off, but you don't get as vibrant results. So I do encourage you, if you have it and you're going to try this, to use watercolor cardstock. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to piece together a sentiment I want to say there. So I'm going to say peace and joy. Look at this pretty, pretty big. I love the ampersand. It's really pretty. So I'm kind of figuring out where I want that to be. Now you could do this a couple of ways. You could go ahead and mask over that area, over the stencil, and then apply your embossing paste, which I'll be doing here now. I'm adding embossing paste. Or you can do what I do and do the lazy way and kind of apply your embossing paste around the stamps as they're sitting on top of your stencil. It's really whatever way you want to do it. But I'm using embossing paste with this stencil. Now this is by Dreamweavers. I also have Wendy Vecchi embossing paste. If you don't have embossing paste, you can use Ranger texture paste, or you can use Faber-Castell's whipped spackle. And I do think there's something called modeling paste out there that you could try as well. I've never used it before. But anyway, I'm using embossing paste because I love it and I know that it works really good. So now I've moved my stamped images out of the way and I'm kind of smoothing out everything where I want it to be. I'm applying this paste with a palette knife. If you don't have a palette knife, you can use any flat surface. You can use the end of a butter knife, a plastic knife, the edge of an old credit card or gift card. You can fold up some cardstock and kind of spread it out that way. And then I'm going to go around the edges, make sure I don't have any embossing paste hanging off, and then I'm going to let this dry, and I think it takes about 15 minutes. And this is it all nice and dry. Look how that design of that stencil is popped up off the cardstock. I just think that is so cool. So now it's time to add some color and bring this card to life. And I'm going to start with some Distress ink. We've got peacock feathers, tumbled glass, a stormy sky maybe. No, that's broken china. So tumbled glass, peacock feathers, and broken china is what I've got down there now. And I'm mixing it up with a Perfect Pearls mix because I wanted some sparkle. Since tumbled glass is so light, I'm kind of doubling up on that tumbled glass there. And my intention is to go with the lightest in the middle and then go darker towards the outside. I didn't wet my cardstock first. You could totally do that and it probably would blend easier, but I didn't seem to have any problems blending it because I have such a good mixture of the Perfect Pearls mixture into the Distress ink. So I'm going around the edges there with some peacock feathers, and as you can see, everything's going down nice and smoothly. I'm not taking much care to do any blending or anything like that. I decided I wanted a little bit of a darker color, so I'm going to go in and add some chipped sapphire Distress ink, which is a really pretty deep blue, and go in around the edges. As you can see, no care is being taken to blend at all, whatsoever. But that's because the water's going to do all the work for me. I'm taking that Perfect Pearls, and I gave it a good 4 to 5 spritzes. And then I'm setting it aside to dry. I'm cleaning up my work surface. By the way, I am working off of the Tim Holtz craft sheet because it's such easy cleanup. As you can see, I hate cleaning, so I surely don't want to invest any more time cleaning my work surface. So that is it, all nice and dry. It looks so pretty, I think, and it's all nice and sparkly because of the Perfect Pearls. So now it's time to piece that sentiment back inside the blank space that we left for the sentiment. Now some of it is overlapping onto the embossing paste design from the triangled creative screening. So I was a little bit nervous about that. You can't see my my face on camera, but I'm a little bit nervous about stamping here, I'm not going to lie. So I'm taking this little embossing buddy and I'm going around where that blank space is, and I'm adding some powder there, and that's just like an anti-static. So my embossing powder doesn't get where I don't want it to be. And then I'm inking up my stamped image with some Versamark ink, and I'm going to do some heat embossing. So I think that little gap right there and me kind of frozen was me kind of freaking out a little bit that I'm just kind of stamping over those embossed images because I don't want to mess up my project. I worked so hard for it. So I did grab this little thing. I don't know what it's called. I did pick it up from my local scrapbooking store. But it's like a big foam pad by Sizzix. You can use a mouse pad even if you want. I just want to make sure I get a really nice impression. I'm also using a Martha Stewart footed press. See those little foam feet, and that helps a lot. So I am pressing and pressing and pressing and probably holding my breath right here because I have no idea if it's stamped evenly or not and if it got on those embossed images. I have no idea what it looks like at this point. So I'm grabbing my embossing powder. I'm using liquid platinum embossing powder by Ranger, which goes with everything, and I'm sprinkling it on all while holding my breath, wondering if I got a good stamped impression because I just don't know. So I'm tapping it off. I'm thinking at this point it looks okay. It looks like I might have got everything covered, and I think I did. I just wasn't sure. So I'm all happy. Look, I'm giving myself a little clap there that everything, I got good coverage. Now I'm going to go ahead and heat set that with my heat gun. Now some of the embossing powder did stray onto some of those triangle images, but I don't care. See below the joy? I think that looks cool myself, so I'm going with it. I'm happy with it. I love the sparkle of the embossing powder over that gorgeous sentiment and that beautiful, beautiful triangled background. It's just so pretty. I love all the texture and the fun and the shine and sparkle of this card. So there's not much more I'm going to do to it. I'm just going to adhere it to a card base. I chose to use a steel gray card base there. I think this cardstock is by W+9, but I'm not 100% certain. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply a lot of adhesive because we added embossing paste and we added some water. I wanted to make sure that this sucker doesn't warp when I go ahead and put it down. So I'm applying a lot of adhesive there. Then I'm going to go ahead and secure that down to the middle of the card where a little bit of the gray is showing on the left and the right. And I think that pulls the card together quite nicely. And I love this card. This is probably my favorite out of all of the cards I've shared with you today because I love all of the texture and I love the triangle designs. I love that sentiment. And I know you're getting sick of hearing me say love, but it's absolutely true. This release from Winnie and Walter is just chock full of so many fun products. You've got stamps, dies, stencils. It's just gorgeous, and I love it. And I'm so happy they asked me to be the leading lady for December. I'm honored and humbled. So here's a quick look at both of the cards I made for today's video, and all of the products are linked up below in my YouTube description and on the blog. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.